A very good morning, students. In our previous video, we have seen data structure, well-known data structure stack, and we also discussed how the stack will function and the purpose of using stacks in programming. Okay, it is very simple. In order to store the data in our program, how we are using array data structure. In that similar way, we can use a stack data structure in order to store the data. Okay, for what purpose we are storing, and if we are storing only if we are using the stack only like a container, then how it is different from a regular array, because array will also store the data, isn't it? Array will also stores the data. Then why we are going for this stack data structure? All those things we will understand in today's class. So basically, in today's class, we'll be discussing the applications of stack. Applications in terms of programming. When we do computer programming, and how these stacks will help us in that programming, that we will discuss in today's class. So basically, applications of stack we are going to discuss in today's class. Okay. So in our previous class, not only the explanation on stack, but also I have given how we can implement the stack. First, we have implemented the integer stack, isn't it? So by keeping in mind that we are going to store only integer variables, integer data into my stack, I have implemented one stack. Later, as we said, we have to discuss everything in terms of generic programming. So basically what I said, I want to make my code uh, type independent. I want to make my code type independent. In order to do so, what I have done, I used templates, and with the help of templates, I modified my complete stack. Whatever code I have written, integer specific, that code I have modified as templates. And with that, what I did, I made my code as type independent. I made my code as type independent so that my code can accept all the different data types. Isn't it? My code can accept all the different data types. So that type of code, we are calling it as type independent code or generic code. Okay, and more specifically, we call it as generic code, generic programming. So how we do the generic programming, how we make our code type independent, all those things we have seen in the concept called templates, and that concept we applied on stack in yesterday's video, in our previous video, what I mean to say. So with that consideration, with that implementation in our mind, we are going to discuss the applications of stacks in today's class. You need to be very specific, and I suggest you to practice that code, whatever code we have written for stacks, that is there already in your notes. Practice that code twice or thrice, because don't take that complete code as a single program. Don't take that complete code as a single program. Rather, you take that small functions, what I have written, like push function, pop function, isEmpty function, isFull function, peek function, size function. Likewise, you practice all those functions independently and become familiar with those functions. What exactly we are doing into that functions. So once you become familiar, it is very easy for you to implement the complete coding for stack. Okay. So when we call a stack as a full stack, that you have to understand. If you understand that thing, it is very easy for you to implement that code. And isFull, when we call a stack as an full stack, and isEmpty, when we call a stack as an empty stack. So that condition you have to understand, and with that understanding, it is very easy for you to implement the coding for that isEmpty function. So likewise, the same thing, how we are performing the push operation onto the stack, how we are pushing the elements onto the stack. If you understand it very well, if you understand it nicely, then it is very easy for you to make that complete push function code. And then pop function, similar to that one. How we are removing the elements from a stack, how we are popping the elements from a stack. If you understand that one, the implementation will become very easy for you. And size and the last that function, what we call peak function, they will also, I mean, you can easily understand that concept and you can easily implement that in terms of programming code. So the template definition, how we can convert our how we have converted our integer specific stack into a template. That conversion is also very, very important, because as I told you in my previous video itself, more probably they are not going to ask integer specific, character specific definitions to write. They will ask you to write the template definition for the stack. Whatever code they will ask you to write template in terms of templates. And that conversion we have seen. Simply what we have to do, we have to make that entire class, or we have to make that entire function like a template. And that, I mean, based on the template type definition, how we are doing that we have discussed in my previous class. It is very easy. It is very simply, we have to add a line of code at each point, and wherever we have the specific types, instead of that specific type, we have to put the template. We have to put the template type. So this type of conversion also I have shown you in my previous video, how we can convert integer definition, integer type specific definition as a template type definition. Integer type specific definition to template type definition. All the functions we have converted. Previously we have written all those functions in integer specific, then we have converted them into template. That conversion process we have discussed in detail. So in today's class, basically we are doing the applications of stack. After the discussion of that stack, for what purpose we have discussed that stack in our DSA concepts. So that we will understand in today's class. So pay attention, and whenever you have doubts, raise the doubts. I will give the explanation to your doubts. So if you see the applications of stack, yeah, we have many applications I have listed out in your notes, and I have selected very few over here, and they are of important, isn't it? They are of important. That is the reason why I have selected them over here. So a stack, basically it is a data structure. It will store the data in our programming, and not only storing, but it is also having some of the different purposes, some of the different applications. That is the reason why we are going for this stack rather than going with an array, normal regular array. So that functioning of the stack, how we are performing the operations on a stack, how we are pushing the data into the stack, and how we are popping the data from the stack, that is very important. Because this functioning is entirely different when we compared with array. If you do the comparison between stack and array, that comparison in terms of pushing the elements and popping the elements only differs. Okay, if that difference, if you put aside, rest of the things are very same like an array, isn't it? Your array is also a data structure. It will also stores the data. But as we are performing push and pop operations on a stack, it is different from a regular array. It is different from a regular array. And pushing the elements and popping the elements only at the top we are doing. No other location we are doing. But in your array, wherever you want, you can push the element, you can store the element, you can replace the elements, you can delete the elements from an array. Isn't it? From an array. But whereas a stack, you have to push, you have to pop, you have to peek, whatever operation you are performing, all the operations you have to perform at the top of the stack only. Checking emptiness, checking fullness, everything you have to perform at the top of the stack only. No other location is accessible directly as far as the stack is concerned. Whereas in array, you can access any location simply with the help of index. You can access any location and you can push the data, you can pop the data. That is nothing but you can insert the data into the stack, into an array, and you can remove the elements from an array. Whatever operations you want to perform, anywhere you can perform. There is no specification on that you have to perform these operations at this particular location only. There is no such specification when we are talking about array. But whereas in stack, you can perform all the operations only at the top of the stack. Only at the top of the stack. We are maintaining what we call a moving point, isn't it? This top is nothing but a moving point. If you want to move forward, if you want to move upwards, you have to move with the help of this top only. And if you want to move downwards, that also you have to do only with the help of this top only. Okay, so that kind of difference we can see between stack and array. So now when we are checking the applications, the first application, if you see over here, it is reversing a given string. So a string, if they have given to you, and if you want to reverse that string, basically what we do means we make use of a stack. So that is the first application. With the help of your stack, you can reverse a given string. You can reverse a given string, that we will see. Simply with the help of that push and pop operations only, we are going to reverse the given string. So it is the first application, and as far as the implementation is concerned, we will not see how we do the reverse, string reverse using a stack directly, but we have a program where we do the conversion of a infix expression into prefix expression. That also very soon we are going to understand what is infix expression, what is prefix expression, what is postfix expression. It is also an important concept. Very soon you will understand. So this reversing a given string, I will explain only the concept, how we will do with the help of a stack, how we reverse a given string with the help of a stack, that I will explain concept orientedly. But as far as the coding is concerned, okay, when we are talking about the coding, that you will see in our future classes. Here I'm not explaining the coding. In our future classes, we need that topic as a subtopic. When we discuss a big topic, we need this topic as a subtopic. Over there, I will explain the coding, how we do this string reversal. But here, you just remember, we do the concept-oriented analysis of this reversing a string. The first application we said, in order to reverse a given string, we are using the stack. We are using the stack. So the first application, so I will go to my whiteboard application, and here if you see, so let us assume that I want to reverse a particular string. That string is something like this. The given string is I'm considering it as MADAM. Okay, madam. Or as it is a palindrome, you will get both the strings same. So what I am doing, I am taking a different string like engineering. So my given string is engineering. So now what I have to do, I have to reverse this string. Okay, I have to reverse this string, and I said by making use of a stack, we are reversing this string. So one of the applications of the stack is string reversal. So how we do that one? We'll take a stack. So this is my stack. What I have to do is I have to scan this string from left to right. So generally whenever we read this string, we read from left to right only. So this is my left and this is my right, isn't it? So I have to scan this entire string from left to right, character by character. So left to right, character by character, and whenever I am encountering a character in my string, simply I have to push that character onto the stack. I have to push that character onto the stack. This is my stack, and we will assume that this is my top. Initially top will be -1, isn't it? Initially top will be -1. So what I have to do now? Yeah, I have to scan this string from left to right. So first, what character I will get? E. I will encounter this character. I will be encountered with this character, E character. So immediately what I have to do? Push this E onto the stack. How we perform the push? So when I got E, what I am doing? I am pushing that E to character E to the stack. Push is nothing but we are performing on the stack only, isn't it? So this E will be pushed on top of the stack. So how this push operation will do, it will increment the top value and it will push that E at that location, isn't it? So top value gets incremented. So top will become 0 now. So E will come over here. Next character N. Again push N. Push character N onto the stack. So that push, again top gets incremented, top will become 1 and will come over here. Next G. So push G. Okay, so that G will come over here. Top will become 2. So likewise all the characters will be pushed onto the stack I. Then we have N. Then we have E. Okay, so like this we have so many characters. After E we have one more E. After E we have one more E, and then we have what? R. Then we have I. Then we have N. So all these characters will be pushed onto the stack. Onto the stack. So here top is 2. Here it will become 3. Here it will become 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So like this it will come. Your top will become 10 when G got pushed. The last character got pushed onto the stack. When the last character got pushed onto the stack. So how we stop this reading process, that we already know. Because whenever we are taking a string inside double quotations, the last character will become the delimiter. Isn't it? The null character delimiter, that you know. So by making use of this null character, we can terminate this reading process, this scanning process. Okay, simply frame the condition. Okay, till what extent we have to read this string? As long as I'm not encountering this null character, I have to read. I'm not encountering this delimiter, I have to read this entire string, character by character, from the beginning to end. And how I'm pointing out that end means by reading this delimiter. Once the delimiter got read, simply what we are doing, we are stopping the scanning process. We are stopping, or we are terminating that loop. Okay, which is responsible for pushing all these characters onto the stack. We are terminating that loop. So now, after pushing all the characters in the process of string reversal, after pushing all the characters onto the stack, we have to pop the characters one by one. We have to pop the characters one by one, and we have to put those characters into another string with name, a different name, like string 2. We have to put all those characters into string 2. So now what we have to do, as I said, we have to pop. So if you apply the pop operation at this stack, which is having all these characters in it, which character will be popped first? Is it going to pop this E first? No. As we said, we have to perform all the operations at top of the stack only. After inserting all these elements, my top is going to be 10. My top value is going to be 10. So now what I have to do, when I am performing the pop operation, I have to pop the element from top of the stack. So G gets popped, isn't it? G gets popped, so G will come over here. G will come over here, and my top gets decremented, isn't it? Top gets decremented. So my top will come, my top will become now 9. My top will point this location. My top is 9 now. So again, perform one more time pop operation. One more time pop operation. So next, at this point, what will happen? Yeah, N will get popped. N will come over here. Okay. So next, perform another pop. So this continuously until and unless your top value becomes -1, you have to perform the pop operations. Till what extent you have to perform the pop operations? Until and unless your top will become -1. Until and unless your top will become -1, you have to perform these pop operations continuously. You have to perform these pop operations continuously. So what will happen? It will pop all the characters in reverse order. First it has popped G, then N, then I, then R, E, E, N, I, G, N, E. So like this, your string will get reversed. Your string will get reversed. So engineering, engineering in reverse order. So this is how, by simply making use of a stack, by popping all the elements from left to right, by pushing all the elements into the onto the stack from left to right, then popping all the elements, we are getting the reversal of the taken string. Whatever string we took, or the given string, whatever string they have given, in order to reverse that string, simply we are making use of a stack and we are reversing that string in this manner. Hope you understood this. This is the first application of a stack. In order to reverse the string, reverse the given string, we are making use of a stack. We are making use of a stack. So this is the first application. So the next application, parsing the parsing means what? Balancing of parentheses. Suppose if you have an expression, that also I will explain over here. Hope you understood this string reverser process. Simply what we are doing, we are pushing something onto the we are pushing all the characters from left to right of the given string onto the stack, and we are popping all the characters one by one, so that popping itself reverses the entire string. No need to do any specific operation, or no need to do any concatenation, nothing. So simply push the characters and pop the characters. The string will get reversed. The string will get reversed. It is a very simple application. It is a very simple application of your stack. Yeah. As we advance in this numbering, in this listing, the things will go complex, and we discuss up to this. We discuss up to what? Up to this only. Sorry, not this. Up to this only, up to postfix expression evaluation, because they will ask in your exam either this reversing a given string, or this parsing balancing of parentheses also they will not ask. Then infix to postfix, or postfix to infix to prefix conversion, that they will ask. Then evaluation of postfix expression. This is very, very, very important. Okay, evaluation of postfix expression. This is very important. This they will ask in your exam. It is an important question. 7 marks question. Okay, if it is internal exam, 7 marks. If it is external, 10 marks. They will ask for 10 marks. Simply saying it is an LAQ. It is an LAQ. Long answer question. Okay, and this in this conversions we have different conversions mechanisms, and among all those conversions, one conversion specifically of important, that is infix to postfix. This conversion definitely they will ask. Infix to postfix conversion definitely they will ask, and this is also an LAQ. Okay, that means for your internals it is 7 marks, for your externals it is 10 marks. Definitely they will ask this question. Infix to postfix conversion, and postfix expression evaluation also, it is also an important question for 7 marks. Okay, so next, parsing, we are discussing already reversing a given string, it is over. Then we are discussing parsing or balancing of parentheses. Balancing of parentheses is something, so generally how we write expressions in mathematics, we write expressions in this notation, isn't it? A plus B parenthesis multiplied C divide, okay, one more parenthesis, divide with D, okay, D minus C, another parenthesis. So balancing of parenthesis nothing but it will check whether whatever parenthesis we are opening, we are closing it properly or not. We are closing them properly or not. Am I closing the parenthesis over here properly? No, I'm not closing the parenthesis properly over here. Why? Means I have opened one open bracket here, one open bracket here, and I'm closing that bracket here. Okay, so and this opening bracket here and this closing bracket here. Yes, I have done properly. Okay, I have done properly. So here another I have opened, and here this one I am closing over here. So this is the pair, and this is one more pair of parentheses in my expression, and this is another pair of parentheses in my expression. Suppose if you miss anything, if you miss any closing, that will be detected by this stack only. So in order to detect that mismatch, in order to detect that balancing mismatch of parenthesis, your compiler make use of the stack only. So how means I will write one expression without the balancing of parenthesis, and I will make use of one stack, and how the stack, I mean how the compiler will detect that error, I will show you. So I'm taking one simple expression like this form only. So a plus b, okay, and I'm taking the parenthesis, set of parenthesis, then multiplied with c, I'm taking like this, and I'm dividing with d minus. I'm not keeping any parenthesis over here, and I'm not keeping any parenthesis over here. So generally, in order to understand or in order to detect that error, whether we have uh, whether we are using the pair of parentheses properly or not, for a human being it is very easy because we have the visual capability. We can see and we can tell that so and so parenthesis is missing. But for a computer, he cannot visualize, isn't it? He cannot visualize the stuff as we are doing. So what the computer will do means the computer will start this expression, scanning of this expression. The computer will start scanning of this expression, okay, and it will push all the characters onto the stack. It will push all the characters onto the stack. So basically what it will do means it will start the scanning like left to right only. Left to right only. So first it will get this opening bracket. It will get the opening bracket. So that opening bracket it will push onto the stack. Opening bracket it will push onto the stack. So here opening bracket we have like this. Hope you understand this as an opening bracket. Then we have another opening bracket. So that also gets pushed onto the stack. Okay. So then it will ignore all the operators and operands. It will not consider them. It will ignore all the operators and operands. So it will ignore A, it will ignore operator plus, it will ignore operator B. Then what we have? We have a closing bracket, isn't it? We have a closing bracket, closing parenthesis. So for this closing parenthesis, it will push that thing, for this closing parenthesis, it will pop one bracket from this stack. When it encounter a closing bracket, it will pop one parenthesis from the stack. So what it will do? It will pop this opening bracket for this closing bracket. It will pop this opening bracket for this closing bracket. So this got popped. What happened? This got popped. So next what we have? After this closing bracket, another operator we have. So ignore. C operand we have, ignore. Then divide operator we have, ignore. Another opening bracket we have. Opening bracket we have. So that opening bracket, as we got opening bracket, what we have to do? Push it. Push. So this gets pushed onto the stack. Like this it will come over here. This gets pushed onto the stack. So then we have D, ignore, operand. Then we have operator minus, ignore. So once you have done with scanning of all the characters inside your expression, because where this process, scanning process gets stopped means again here at the end we are going to have the null character. By reading this null character, your compiler will stop the scanning process. Once the scanning process stopped, it will check the stack. It will check the stack. If any opening bracket is present inside the stack, that means your expression is not having balanced parenthesis. As in this case, I have two opening brackets in my stack. I have two opening brackets in my stack. So my expression is not parsed properly. Not parsed properly. Parsed properly means I don't have parenthesis balanced. I don't have parenthesis balanced in my expression. So quickly take one simple example and do that. Like this, where the parentheses are balanced, and how this will do that by D. That's it. I will take like this only. So what I have to do? Take one stack, then start pushing the opening brackets. So first opening bracket I'm pushing. Then I have another open bracket, push it too. Push that thing. So next what I have? Operator, operand A, ignore it. Operator plus, ignore it. Operator B, operand B, ignore it. Then I have closing bracket. So for this closing bracket, pop opening bracket. Pop opening bracket. So this I am popping from the stack. This got popped. Popped. So next thing, again, scan operator multiplication, star operator, ignore it. Operand C, ignore it. One more closing bracket. So if I got one more closing bracket, what I have to do? Pop the suitable closing bracket. Pop the suitable closing bracket. Sorry, opening bracket. So this also gets popped. This also gets popped. Next, what I have? Division. Operator, ignore it. Then I have D. Operand, ignore it. Then last character, null character. So if you got null character in the scanning, stop the scanning. Stop the scanning. So here we stop the scanning and we check the stack. Is my stack empty? Yes, my stack is empty and I don't have any opening brackets in my stack. So that means my expression, it is parsed. It is parsed properly. It is parsed properly. In this way, we check the parsing of an expression by making use of a stack. If your stack is empty, means our given expression is properly parsed. If the stack is not empty, after scanning, if your stack is not empty, that means your given expression is not properly parsed. Okay, it is not having properly parsed or balanced parenthesis. So this concept I have explained. Hope you understood. Then our important concept, infix to postfix and prefix conversion, that we will discuss in detail, and postfix expression evaluation we will discuss in detail. Then redo, undo features at many places like your editors, Photoshop, all those things. So whatever I am writing, okay, redo, undo features means, so go to your editor. So here, let us say, so when I'm writing like 1, so this will be these actions, whatever I'm performing. So when I'm writing 1, I'm performing one action. This action will be stored onto the stack. So yeah, this action, okay, writing 1 is my first action. So that will be stored on the stack. That will be stored on the stack. Then writing 2, this is another action. This will also be stored on the stack. Writing 3. So this is another what we call action. So all these actions, writing 1, 2, 3, 4. How I am writing? First I wrote this, then I wrote this, then I wrote this, then I wrote this, then I wrote 5. So all these operations, they got pushed onto the stack. First this action got pushed onto the stack, then 2 got pushed onto the stack, then 3 pushed onto the stack, 4, then 5, like this. So lastly I have written 5. So all these actions, all of my actions, they got pushed onto the stack. So when I pop all those actions, that means I'm performing the undo feature. When I'm performing the undo operation, so how it will be popped? It will pop, it will remove 5 first, then 4 first, then 3, 2, 1, like this. It will perform all those operations in reverse. Okay, similar to how we are pushing and how we are popping the elements from the stack. The reason, because in order to do the undo and redo, in order to make your undo and redo features functional, your operating system will make use of a stack only, and it will record all my actions by pushing all those actions onto the stack. So that is the reason why when I am doing undo, it is popping actions one by one in reverse order. So I have written 5 lastly. So LIFO fashion, last in, first out. Which action was pushed as the last entry onto the stack means writing 5. Writing 5 was pushed as the last action onto the stack. So that will be undo, that will be undone first. When I perform undo, that will be undone first. See, 5 will be removed first, then 4 will be removed, then 3, 2, 1, like this. So whatever actions I'm doing, all those actions will be recorded onto the stack only. All those operations will be pushed by the operating system onto the stack, and when I'm reversing or when I'm undoing, it will simply remove those. Okay, and when I'm redoing, all those will become like this only. isn't it? Because all those actions, they are uh, pushed onto the stack, and whenever we are popping, they will be performed in reverse order. So undo redo features of your editors and Photoshop, like big applications, Photoshops, all those will be done with the help of stack only. Your operating system will make use of a stack in order to make this undo redo feature functional. And forward backward pages in your browser, suppose you are visiting, if you are visiting some google.com at one point, google.com, then yahoo.com you are visiting, then what we have, like islec.com, then OU website, like this you are visiting all these websites in this action, in this manner. You are visiting all these in this manner. So when you perform the, when you press the back button, when you press the back button on your browser, suppose right now what website you are visiting, you are visiting OU website. First you visited this Google, then you visited this Yahoo, after that ISLEC, then lastly you have visited OU. So if you press the back button when you are on OU page, which page it will open? It will go to ISLEC, because before visiting this OU, you have visited ISLEC. So the control will go from here to here. Again, if you press the back button, you will come over here, Yahoo. One more time pressing back button, you will reach the Google. So in this way, all these history of your internet, history of your internet pages, it will be pushed onto the stack, and whenever you are pressing the backward and forward buttons, you will move like this only, backward and forward, like this you will move. Okay, so all those will be pushed onto the stack, and the last visited page you will reach when you click the back button. Okay, when you click the back button, and if you click the forward button, again you will go to OU only. So likewise, so backward and forward pages that you have visited on your web browser, they will also function according to the stack only, according to the stack only. So not only this, there are many algorithms like Towers of Hanoi. If you have patience, you can go and you can visit this Towers of Hanoi. It is a very complicated problem, and how that problem will be solved using a stack, a brief explanation, a complete explanation is there on the internet. You can go through that one. It is not of our concept. Explaining that thing is not of our concept. That is the reason why I am not explaining, because it will consume our time. And next, tree traversals. Yeah, very soon we will understand what is a tree and how we do the traversals, tree traversals, and how we solve them by making use of a stack. That also, if time permits, we will see, because all these things are not there in your syllabi. Okay, basically all these things, all these concepts are not there in your syllabi. As I told you, up to this only we have to discuss. Postfix expression evaluation, up to this only we have to discuss. Not only these 7 points, I think I have written 9 points in your notes. Those two, 8 and 9 also, the applications of stack only, but those things we are not discussing. Okay, so you can remember those two for your exam purpose. Okay, so quickly after this discussion, we will see expression conversion, a concept called expression conversion. And basically expressions, we have 3 different types. Okay, we have 3 different types. The first form is infix expression, then we have postfix expression, and finally we have prefix expression. Infix, postfix, and prefix. So the conversion, expression conversion, is nothing but how we are going to convert infix to postfix and postfix to infix. Again, infix to prefix and prefix to infix. This discussion only. Then postfix to prefix and prefix to postfix. Among all these, we do only 2. We do, because how many possible conversions we are going to have? That is NC2, isn't it? In every pair we are having 2, so NC2, that is almost like 6 pairs, isn't it? NC2 in the sense 6 only, I believe. So 6 pairs we are going to get, or 3 factorial, I believe. 3 factorial. So that is 3 multiplied 2 multiplied 1. So that is 6. 6 possible conversion processes we will get. Among the 6, we will discuss only 2. So they are the first one, infix to postfix. We discuss infix to postfix, and we also discuss the second one, infix to prefix. Infix to prefix. Only these two we discuss. Only these two we have in your syllabi, so we discuss only these two. Infix to postfix and infix to prefix, how we do the conversion. So first of all, before going to that, before getting into this concept, we have to know what is infix, what is postfix, what is prefix, and why they have the importance. Why they have the importance, what is the purpose of discussing this concept over here. So that we have to understand. So quickly, so as a human being, whenever I see an expression, a mathematical expression, what I do, I will start scanning that expression from left to right, isn't it? I will start scanning that expression from left to right, and I will perform all the operations in that expression in order to get the final value. In order to get the final value. So expression, when I am saying, I mean by this only. A plus B minus C multiply D plus E. So like this. So this is an expression. So what I do, I will scan this expression from left to right. Okay, if I give all the values of A, B, C, D, E. So if I tell you A equals to 2, B equals to 3, C is equals to 4, D is equals to, sorry. Yeah, this D I have to write properly. D is equals to 5, then E is equals to 6. Like this, if I give all the values of these variables, A, B, C, D, E, then I will get the resultant value of this expression, isn't it? I will get the resultant value. That is the final value of this expression, this mathematical expression. So how I am doing that basically means, by knowing all these values, simply what I will do, I will replace these values over here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now what I have to do, I have to perform the operations. So how I will perform that operations? First I will scan this entire expression and I will look for the operator which is having the highest precedence. The more the precedence, the earlier the operator will gets evaluated. This concept we studied in your first sem. Operator precedence and operator associativity. Operator precedence and operator associativity. So according to that, the higher the operator precedence, the earlier the operator gets evaluated. So over here, which operator is having the highest precedence means this multiplication operator. So what I have to do, I have to scan this expression from left to right and I have to check the possible precedence of all the operators. So with that, I will come to a conclusion that I have to perform this multiplication operator first. I have to perform the multiplication operation first. So what I will do, I will evaluate this multiplication and I will get this value as 20. This value as 20. So after getting this 20, again what I have to do, I have to perform the operations between 2, 3, 20 and 6. 2, 3, 20 and 6. Isn't it? 2, 3, 20 and 6. So now after that, which operator I have to evaluate? Plus, minus, plus. I have 3 operators. All are having the same precedence. Same precedence. Then what I have to do, I have to go for associativity. I have to go for associativity. That associativity plus operator gets evaluated first. According to that, plus operator gets evaluated first. So this will become 5. Then minus. Isn't it? So 5 from minus 20. 5 from 20 I have to deduct. So that will become minus 15 plus 6. Isn't it? Minus 15 plus 6. So the final value I will get like minus how much? If you remove 6 from 15, then you will get 9. So minus 9. Like this I will get. So like this I will get. If I took all the operators with their values, so maybe it's some different value you will get. I'm just explaining the concept over here. Just you focus on the concept. Okay. So we are not getting, sir, this value. We are getting a different value. Of course, if you follow the mathematical rules properly, you will get a different value. Maybe I'm not following the rules properly over here. So that is the reason why I got minus 9. So first I have evaluated multiplication, so I got 20. Then I have evaluated plus, so I got 5. Then I have removed this 5 from this 20 because the big value is having minus, so I got minus 15. Then I have added plus 6 to it. Then I got the last value as minus 9. So like this I got the value. So basically what my intention in explaining this concept over here is, every time whenever I am performing a particular operation, I am scanning the expression from left to right. I'm scanning the expression from left to right and I'm comparing the precedence of all the operations in every step. First I compared all plus, minus, multiplication, plus. Then I concluded plus as the highest precedence. Multiplication as the highest precedence. So I have evaluated multiplication. Then in turn I am scanning from left to right. I got plus, minus and plus. All operators are having the same precedence, so I have evaluated plus first. Then in turn I got minus and plus, and minus is coming first. Minus and plus both are having the same precedence, so minus is coming first, so I have evaluated minus. Then finally I have left with only plus, so I have evaluated that plus. So whenever I am performing a particular operation, I'm keep on scanning the expression again and again from left to right. This is an inefficient process. For a human being, of course, we do all these things with intellectuality or with visualization, visual power. With visual power, it is very easy for us to do the stuff like this. It is very easy for us to do the stuff like this. But for a computer, as it cannot visualize and as it is not having any intellectual power, it has to keep on scan the expression again and again until it will come to a conclusion of the operation to perform. Until it will come to a conclusion that I have to perform this operation at this point, at this stage. Okay, so this repetition of scanning is an inefficient process in terms of programming. This repeated scanning of the same expression, okay, this redundant scanning of the same expression is an inefficient process in programming terminology. So we have to avoid this. So programmers thought whatever expression we are framing like this, by keeping the operator in the middle and taking the operands left and right. Okay, taking the operands left and right and keeping the operator in the middle, we call this type of expressions as infix expressions, where the operator will come between the operands. We call this type of expression as infix expression. So human beings, they will understand infix expression and they can evaluate this infix expression very easily, because they are having visual power and intellectual power. But for a computer, it is very difficult to understand infix expression and it is very difficult to evaluate the infix expression. So that is the reason why we are going for either postfix or prefix. Either postfix or prefix form of expression. These two expressions your computer can understand easily. And can process these expressions easily. Okay, these two expressions the computer can understand easily and can process easily. But infix, it is very easy for humans, not for computers. It is very easy for humans, but not for computers. Okay, and whatever expression notation we follow in our day-to-day life, that is infix notation only, infix expression notation only. Okay, so quickly, with this understanding, quickly we go to our slides and we will see. See, the first point, if you read, while we use, human beings, while we use infix expressions in our day-to-day lives, computers have trouble in understanding this format because they need to keep in mind rules of operator precedence. We as a human being, we well understood the rules of operator precedence, but the computer, it doesn't. Every time it has to do that comparison. So because of that reason, we are not going with infix expression inside your computer. Okay, because they need to keep in mind rules of operator precedence and also brackets. So your expression not only have operators but also have the brackets. So it has to do two jobs. Because of that reason, we are ignoring that infix notation when we are giving the expression as an input to the computer. So what we are doing in place of what replacement we have in place of infix, in the sense the prefix notation and the postfix expression notation. Okay, they are very easy for a computer to understand and evaluate. Okay, your computer will easily understand the postfix expression, prefix expression, and it can evaluate very easily. So what is an expression, infix expression, and what is postfix and what is prefix expression, that we will understand over here. Okay, the expression of the form A operator B. So what is A over here? This is operand. Okay, this is operand on which we are performing the operation. And what is B over here? This is also an operand. And what is this OP over here? Basically, OP means operator. So an expression of the form operand, operator, operand. What is that? Operand, operator, and one more operand. So this form, we call it as an infix expression. So if you take this operand like this, and operator with a ellipse, and this another rectangle, so this will form like this: operand, operator, operand. So this form of expression, we call it as infix expression. When an operator is in between every pair of operands, when an operator is in between every pair of operands, we call that expression as infix expression. This form of expression is known as infix expression. If you see the examples, you can frame many. A plus B, A minus B, A plus B minus C. All these are infix notations because the operator, every time it is coming between the operands. So these type of expressions, we call them as infix expressions. Okay, the next is postfix expressions. Post means after the operands, if your operator will come. So here, if you see an expression of the form A, B, OP. What is A? Operand. What is B? Operand. These two are operands. Operands. And what is this OP? It is an operator. So an expression of this form, we call it as postfix expression. When an operator is followed by every pair of operands. We call that expression form as an postfix expression form. Postfix notation of the expressions. Examples: AB plus. So instead of writing this plus in between, we write afterwards AB plus, AB minus. Okay, AB plus C minus, like this. This form of notations, we call them as postfix notations of the expression. Postfix notations of the given expression. So next, prefix. Before the operands. If you put the operator before the operands, we call them as prefix notations. Over here, this is my operator, OP is my operator, AB, both are my operands. So like this, if you take, we call that form of expression notation as prefix notation. So when an operator comes before the operands, when operator is before every pair of operands, we call such an expression notation as prefix expression notation. So examples you take like plus AB, minus AB, okay, plus AB minus C, like this. So this form of expression notation, we call it as prefix notation. Prefix notation of the expression. So yeah, whatever conversion we are doing, whatever expression we are writing in postfix and prefix notation, definitely they are going to have some meaningful value, some meaning. Basically, they will have some meaning. Without meaning, we are not doing anything over here. If you're taking an infix expression, that infix expression you can convert it to postfix or you can convert it to prefix. After conversion only, basically whatever expression form we will give to the computer, that expression will be in the form of infix only, because we human beings, we will understand only the infix, isn't it? So whatever expression we write inside a computer in order to evaluate, that expression will be in infix notation only, but the computer will not understand that infix notation. So what it will do internally means it will convert that expression into postfix. It will convert that expression into either postfix or prefix before evaluation, before getting the final result. So as I said, so here we human beings, we will understand infix notation. So we are writing the expression in infix and we are giving it to the computer. So humans are doing that one. We are writing the expression in infix a plus b, like this we are giving to the computer. So internally what the computer will do, the computer will convert that expression into either postfix or prefix. Either postfix or prefix, and after conversion it will do the evaluation. It will do the evaluation. So these two, who will do? The computer will do. So in order to convert this infix to postfix, or infix to prefix, the computer or the compiler make use of a stack. This is one of the stack application. Conversion of infix to postfix, conversion of infix to prefix. It is an application of the stack. So the computer will make use of a stack. Not only that, in order to do the evaluation of your postfix expression and prefix expression, over there also your computer will make use of stack. So this thing you have to understand. So conversion of infix to postfix we will see, conversion of infix to prefix we will see, and evaluation of postfix expression also we will see. So basically we do three things over here. The first thing, we'll study how we can convert an infix expression to postfix expression. This we will do with the help of a stack only. So this is a stack application. So the next one, infix to prefix also we will see. Infix expression to prefix expression we will see, and this also we do basically with the help of a stack only. And the third one, evaluation. Evaluation means getting the final result. Evaluation of postfix. We will do only for postfix. Evaluation of postfix. This also we do with the help of stack only. So this is also an application of stack. So we'll take an example infix expression. We'll convert that to postfix. Again, we'll take an example application and we convert that to prefix, and we will evaluate the postfix expression. So these three we have to see, and coding we'll see infix to postfix and evaluation of postfix. This prefix I have kept inside your notes, you just follow that one, because they will rarely ask this infix to prefix code evaluation, infix to postfix conversion code. They will rarely ask. They will not ask regularly, and even if they ask this process, they will ask the algorithm but not the code. They will ask only the algorithm. They will not ask the coding. Algorithm is nothing but the procedure only, how we do the conversion. That procedure we will discuss. So all these three, whatever I have given, infix to postfix, the concept and the code is very important. Concept and code, very important. Evaluation of postfix, concept and code, very, very, very important. Concept and code, LAQs. Both the things are LAQs. They are very important. Definitely you will get that question. And infix to prefix, we will discuss only the concept. Code is there in your notes. Okay. Code is there in your notes, and only the concept is important here. Code is not important. Not that much important. Only the concept is important. Okay. So these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 things you have to mug up, I will say. If you are feeling any kind of difficulty in understanding, simply mug up. Because the algorithm, it is a step-by-step process. You have to remember that process. How we are performing, you have to remember. And understanding of code, I will give you some hints so that you will remember that code very easily. Okay, so quickly we go and we do that thing. So after infix to postfix, and after the discussion of this expressions, infix expression, postfix expression, and prefix expression, we need to know how we convert infix expression into postfix expression. Infix expression into postfix expression. So before that conversion process, we have to know why there is a need to represent an expression into postfix form. Infix to postfix conversion, in that, why postfix representation of an expression. Okay, so already I have explained that concept. The compiler scans the expression either from left to right or right to left. Okay, either from left to right or right to left. Like human beings, it is not having the intellectual power to directly go to that expression and perform the operation. It is not having that kind of power, intellectual power or visibility power, visual power. Because of that reason, what it will do, it will simply scans whatever expression you give it to the compiler or the computer. It will simply start scanning that application. It will simply start scanning that application. Okay, so if you have more number of operations to perform, for every operation the compiler has to scan the application right to left. It is a right to left or left to right. It is a repeated process, and something if we do repeatedly in your computational power, with your computational power, it is considered as inefficient. It will be considered as inefficient. So we have to avoid that one. We have to avoid the repeated scanning of the expression. So for that purpose only, we are going to the postfix expression. Okay, postfix expression. So our infix expression, how we convert into postfix, we have to understand. So here, if you read this entire thing, the concept is that only. So as the compiler is doing the stuff repeatedly, we have to avoid that repeated scanning. For that purpose only, we are going either to postfix or to prefix. Okay, and how we convert our given infix expression into postfix expression means with the help of a stack only. With the help of a stack only. So basically, as I said, how we convert the given infix expression into postfix expression, it is an algorithm. It is a step-by-step procedure. It is a step-by-step procedure, and that step-by-step procedure, if you read, I kept all the points. I kept all the given points into this 7 major points. I kept all the steps of converting given infix expression into postfix expression in these 7 steps. In these 7 steps under this algorithm. Algorithm for infix to postfix conversion. And how we do this conversion means by making use of a stack only. So this entire procedure with the help of a stack only we will do. We'll take a stack and we'll perform all these operations one by one. So in my next video, I will take an example expression, infix expression, and I will follow all these steps, and we will see whether all these steps will convert my given expression into postfix or not. Okay. So till that time, whatever guidance I'm giving in my video, definitely it is of importance. So don't lose even a single point. Watch my video from the beginning till the end. Then only you will understand. Watching the video at the beginning like 5 minutes, watching the video at the end like 5 minutes, posting the attendance, of no use. Of no use. If you really want some knowledge to gain, definitely watch my complete video. Of course, you have a lot of material readily available on the internet. That reading will also not give any kind of idea until and unless you practice the stuff and until and unless you do the stuff manually. So it's my request, whenever it is possible, try to spend the time on DSA subject, because it is very important, and many upcoming subjects, whether it may be your DA subject, design and analysis of algorithms, or it may be your what we call AT subject, automata theory, or whether it may be graph theory. We have different subjects like your discrete mathematics, where you do graphs and trees in your 5th unit. All these subjects are related to one another. Compiler construction, in future we are going to do compiler construction also. That subject is also completely related to this DSA. So I suggest you, if you need some kind of basic knowledge, spend some more time on this DSA subject, so that those subjects will become very easy for you. If you leave this subject with what we call improper knowledge, definitely you will feel difficulty over there. Hope you understand this, and as you are at home only, so try to spend some more time, try to watch the videos, repeatedly watch the videos if you're not getting the concepts. And if you have any specific doubt in your understanding, post it on my WhatsApp group. I will call, or you can make a call to me, or I will call you personally. I will give the time so that you can clarify the doubt. Hopefully you understood. Thank you very much, students. And in our next class, next video, I will be posting how we do that conversion. And in one shot, in next video itself, we will discuss not only infix to postfix, but also infix to prefix and postfix expression evaluation. In one shot, we'll complete all this and we'll move our attention towards queues. We have to discuss only two different types of queues. One is the regular queue and the circular queue. Okay, once we finish this, we'll go to the third unit, that is linked lists. Okay, hardly I will take 2 to 3 classes in order to explain that linked list concept. Singly linked list, up to singly linked list we have to complete. Okay, up to singly linked list we are expecting in your first mid, which is according to the alumnac, it is going to start from 14th of October. Hopefully I will try to take some more time in preparation of videos. And I too need your patience, your what we call effort, in order to solve this subject as soon as possible. Thank you very much, students.